So what's the number one mistake I still see after 25 years of coaching? Well, it's coaching the result and not the performance. Children, especially young children, need to be inspired. They need to explore and play. They're being told, you know, what to do essentially, because what happens is the coach that chases the result is generally the coach that will be commentating throughout the match. And commentating is for the telly, isn't it? It's for the stuff you watch when you're chilling at home. Commentating is not for coaching. That's something else. It's called communicating. That's what we should be doing as coaches. And it's a very honest mistake for a lot of coaches that are new, and hopefully this video can just give you a quick overview and insight into what you may find sounds better than the things I'm saying aren't so good. So what is a good coach? Well, a good coach is someone that helps someone, right, to develop the game they're playing and hopefully enjoy it. I mean, that's a good coach. And of course we can break down a good coach in so many ways, but what we want to try and do as a coach is let the children, especially at a younger age, explore what they can do. And there's a very real danger in the game if people are coming in and they've got their kind of elite views already at such a young age. There's a time and a place for sort of continued development, and there's a time and a place for different styles of coaching. But what we need to try and do is get children to communicate with you and you communicating with them. And if we can explore that successfully, the children will develop. And too often we see in the coaching games, and my name's Chris, by the way. I run a coaching school that's sort of expanding across the UK and help run a grassroots football club. And we see all kinds of things, and we see a lot of good stuff as well. We see a lot of stuff that can be improved also. And look, we've all done it. We've all made mistakes, and I'll always make mistakes, but a sort of philosophy and style of coaching should be, especially for this foundation age, this kind of younger age where children are generally quite new to a sport, we need to let them explore. And if we tell, which is a form of essentially commentating, we're really restricting that player growth, and we could be harming their confidence in all kinds of things. So, the simple example, if you're at a game and there's a great opportunity and you see the player and you say, shoot, well, it's not the worst thing in the world to say, but it's not good. Let the child choose to shoot. And the opportunity is both ways on that. If they did choose to shoot, you don't need to say, well done. Of course, you want to be positive, but you can explain what they did to be able to shoot that was so good. You got yourself into space. Brilliant. I love the way you lost the player by turning and then finding the space to be able to shoot. But equally, if they don't take the shot, it's another form of coaching, right? You can be in a situation where you can say, what could you have done? How about, what if maybe next time, if you can, how about, and we just want to be in a situation where the children are developing and learning through their mistakes. So if we're commentating and telling, you're limiting that exploration, Sometimes you have to be more instructional, but could it be more of an invitational command? If you can, try and then what could you do? So you're still giving them a nudge, but you're interacting in a way that isn't tell. We want the players that are learning to understand the why, don't we? Why are we doing something? Why should you be in a certain position, in a certain space? Why is it an opportunity to shoot? Why is it an opportunity to pass? Everything's a question. And if we keep giving the answers, are they going to have it for themselves on exam day, if you know what I mean? So we need them to do the revision. We need them to do the homework. We need the players to be in a situation where they're exploring. And the number one mistake I see all the time is this constant demand for a result. I mean, who's going to really give a damn about an under 7 result from a local area team at any point other than that moment, unless you're the grown-up that's got a bad philosophy on football? Kids move on. The game's finished and they'll move on. And a good coach can help them move on, even with a bad result or bad performance. But if we're coaching just the result, what kind of player are you bringing up, So don't confuse this with not wanting to win, but this is a case certainly about learning and coaching the right way. And if we can be in a situation where Children are learning through guided discovery, through their own mistakes, through, if you like, gentle nudges along the way, exploring all kinds of things. They're going to be better players, aren't they? So a common mistake by coaches, especially new coaches, but it's experienced coaches as well. We focus narrow vision on the moment, on the match, on the result. It's not the long-term game. What we want to try and do is be in a situation where we have a plan. Of course, we want to try and, do better than worse, but it's not the be-all and end-all. This is not the World Cup final. This is foundational football. This is developmental football. So what can we do? Generally speaking, the teams that don't have commentators like that, not always, I'm not suggesting all the same, but generally speaking, the ones that are quieter are the more experienced and balanced teams because they've worked on their style of play. They know what it is and the coach lets them play. And if you're not at that stage yet because of ability, new team, and all the things that we have that we sort of coach, that's fine, but you've got to be prepared to work on that. And one of the first things to do is work on letting the kids play, let them explore a bit, let them find their own answers, let them make mistakes, and if you're coming in as a new coach, if you're coming in at a place where you haven't got experience, a lot of weight is on your kind of mentor shoulders, right? Because if you are piggybacking off someone who's questionable in their coaching style or philosophy, how's that going to rub off? So you're best placed to do some background, some coaching courses and all that kind of stuff. But equally, you need hands-on experience. But you've got to have a choice. You've got to know where to start and ask yourself the question, are we telling? So are we commentating or are we communicating? And are we letting them play? Give yourself a challenge. If you are a coach already and you might play quarters or halves depending on the age group and the development level, say to yourself, I'm not going to say a thing for a quarter or a half or whatever it is. I'm not going to say a thing. Observe your behavior. You want to say something, but you can't because you've given yourself the challenge that you're not going to commentate or you're not going to communicate even in that game. And then see, what would you have said that would have been more command-based, telling-based? And what would you have said that is more coaching? It's not just technical, is it? We know football's a game that has technical, tactical elements, physical, social, psychological. So we've got to be in a situation where we're letting the kids explore these different metrics, Try and put yourself in a situation where you ask yourself, am I a teller or am I a helper? Am I a commentator or am I a communicator? And the next time you're at a game, you might not be coaching, just observe the coach. See what you like, see what you don't. And the next time you coach, how can you give yourself a different challenge to open up that new kind of style with your player? I'll be interested to know what kind of questions do you ask already? There's lots of good stuff out there, of course, and I'm just bringing up a point on the challenges here. What do you think? Let me know, and we'll see you in the next one.